If I was the devil and I wanted to stop someone from being successful, this is what I'd do. That's what we're going to be talking about today on this week's episode of the Live Younger, Longer podcast. Because I put that question into Chat GPT to see what it would do. And it was very interesting to hear what the responses were. And it was so important, I believe, in today's world, as we're really looking at why aren't people being successful? Why do people think the American dream is over? Why do people think that they can't succeed like they used to? I believe the American dream is bigger than ever. I believe there's more opportunity than ever right now. And it's just a matter of where you're looking. And so I decided to put a little mood lighting to this week's episode, and we're going to get into this. So here's what ChatGPT was telling me when I typed that question in. If I was the devil and I was trying to stop someone from being successful, I would. So number one was distract them constantly, not with big disasters, just small, meaningless, never ending distractions, scrolling, notifications, drama, urgent over important, death by 1,000 interruptions. Have you ever noticed, put on any news station, in the middle of 1 hour show, there's multiple breaking news. It's always breaking news. There's always something. Your phone is dinging constantly. You're constantly getting distracted by your phones, notifications going off, just scrolling. How many times have you gotten on your phone to look up one thing? Before you know it, you've looked up 15 different things and you're not even doing what you thought you would be doing in the first place. You're in this endless, this mind scroll, or before you know it, you've scrolled through about 25 reels without even realizing it. It would keep you distracted constantly. There's a thing in success that, when we talk about what makes people successful, most people that are very successful, they're disciplined with their time. They're focused and they have their goals. They're very specific on what they're wanting to do and the goals they want to accomplish. They're hyper focused. They don't let all the meaningless distractions get in the way. I mean, in today's world, how insane is it that you have people, and let's just bring up our current president. You have people that are literally, they can't function correctly. Like their every day is just a disaster and it's shot and they can't be happy and they can't find happiness. They can't find laughter because of some person they never met. Like how insane is it? There's been a lot of politicians I've liked. There's been a lot I didn't like. I've never allowed them to affect my daily routine. I've never allowed them to affect my relationships, my relationship with my family. But how insane is it that these constant nagging little distractions, again, death by 1,000 interruptions, because you never can truly focus on what's most important. You're never present in what you're trying to do. You're constantly just being interrupted by meaningless. How many times, emails sometimes, right? Like are just mind wasters because people, especially if you're part of a group text or a group thread on email, you're just constantly distracted by people responding just nonsense. It has nothing to do with what's important, but we're constantly distracted. So that was the first thing that came up, is I would keep them constantly distracted. In the book Think and Grow Rich and also Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, he talks about that. He talks about how the devil has control over people. It's because most people don't have any definite aim. They don't have any definite main purpose in life. They're just going through what he calls the hypnotic rhythm of life, where they don't have any goals. They don't have any dreams. They don't have any things that they're really going for. They're just constantly just, in that, again, that hypnotic rhythm of waking up, eating, going to work, coming home, eating, going to bed, repeat for 40 years. They don't go after their dreams. They don't have any goals. They never write down goals. They're never reading new books. They're never expanding their brain. They're never learning new skill sets. They're never doing anything. They're just constantly distracted. They're just constantly going through the rhythm and the motions of life without any kind of purpose. It's just never ending distractions of life to keep them. So that's the number one way that he said he would keep people from being successful. Number two, it said, I would make them doubt their identity. It said, I would whisper to them, you're not good enough. Others can do it, but not you. If I can make you question who you are, I will never have to worry about what you could have become. And that's literally a quote. It just said, if I can make you question who you are, I never have to worry about what you could have become. How many people walk through life like that? Like, let's be real with people. How many people question themselves, or they want to start a new business? They're like, I can't do that. I'm not good enough. They see somebody out there. I started a podcast. I didn't think like, man, I'm not the most polished person out there. I'm not the most politically correct person out there. I'm not the most articulate person out there. And there was doubts that came up. Should I be doing this? Why should I do this? Well, I started this because I want to help enhance people's lives. I want to help people get as much life out of every year of their life in all aspects of their life. I'm not going to let doubt stand in my way, because we all have those doubts. Anytime I started a new business venture, there was always doubts. Anytime, I mean, hell, how many people, especially men, I'm going to talk to you, especially young men right now. I just read a statistic the other day that talked about how many men, young men right now, have never physically walked up to a girl and asked them out. I mean, I got my wife because I was willing to walk up to her and start a conversation and ask her out. I was like, man, this is a good looking woman. I want to get to know her. I took the shot. How many people are never willing to take their shot because they're constantly hearing that nagging little voice in their head saying, you're not good enough. You can't do that. Others might be able to do it, but you can't do it. Every single person that's ever been successful, you don't think they've ever had failures? You don't think they've ever went through these things? I listened to an interview from the CEO of NVIDIA the other day, one of the biggest companies in the world, talking about how they were almost bankrupt and how, they were on the brink of having to shut the doors, but they kept going. And again, he's not distracted. You talk about an uber successful guy, but here's a guy that works every single day, literally every single day. He even joked, if I'm on vacation, I still work. 7 days a week, I'm working. I'm solving problems. He's constantly focused. He doesn't have time for the meaningless distractions. Some people wonder, how can some people get so much done in the same 24 hours? Focus. Let's go back to that. Number one, they're not constantly distracted by meaningless nonsense. They're constantly focused on what's the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. Benjamin Hardy talks about this in his books. One of the latest ones he wrote is The Science of. Let's look at how you spend your day and what's the top 10 or 20% that is really actually productive, that actually gets you towards your goals. And let's cut out all of the other nonsense. It's the 80-20 rule. But how many people, as they start something or they want to start something, maybe you're in a job right now that you completely loathe. Why do you choose to do it every day? Could it be that small nagging voice in your head saying, you're not good enough to start a business. You're not successful enough. You're not smart enough. You're not articulate enough. You can't do it. Others can do it, but you can't do it. I mean, listen, guys, I'm a guy that has a good work ethic. I was willing to go for my dreams. I was willing to take risks. I have a high school diploma. I've read a lot of books since high school. I'm kind of that self-educated guy. I think we can never learn enough, never stop learning, always improving. But how many people never read a book after school? Like never literally pick up a book and read it after they get out of school, whether it's high school or college. I'm no different than anybody else. We have created success in our life, but it's because I was willing to do it and I shut down the small voices saying I couldn't. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those guys that if you tell me I can't, I want to prove you wrong even more. Every time I've started a new business, every time I started a new direction in my life, I had people in my life and those small voices in my head saying, that's a dumb idea. Shouldn't do that. No one does that. You can't be successful in that. Those things never work. All the things. So you have to learn how to tamp down that, because if you don't, it creates new neural pathways in your brain to where that's just your life. You're believing it. You'll go through life really believing that you're not good enough. You can't do it. Others have some crazy skill set that you don't have. It's false. It's a lie. But if you're not careful, I look at it as little weeds. Every time those negative thoughts get into your head, it's like these little weeds. Now, what happens typically in your yard if a weed starts to grow? It grows faster than the actual grass. It just keeps growing and growing. If you don't pluck that weed, if you don't really pluck it out early, it's going to continue to grow. And if you're not careful, what happens? Those weeds can spread all over your lawn. And that's what happens to people's brains. You never prune it. You never pull them weeds out. So we start believing these lies. And that was the number 2 thing they said, I'd make them doubt themselves. Number 3, and this is a major problem in today's society. Number 3 was convince them that comfort is success. Nothing kills greatness like comfort. If I can keep you comfortable, you'll never chase your calling. You know, the problem in today's society, you are way too comfortable. Most people are way too comfortable. Do you realize if you make $35,000 a year here in America, you're in the top 1% of the wealth earners in the world? You know, the problem where most people go after these socialistic ideas, or they go after all these nonsensical ideas that you hear in the media and you hear everywhere else, or you hear people squawking on the street, is because they've never been out of the country. Ask most immigrants what it's like in their country. I've been blessed to be over to 30 countries around the world, and let me tell you, there's no place like America. There's no opportunity like America. And there's a reason that people flock to this country more than any other country everywhere, because there is still true opportunity for anybody to succeed. But the problem is we've gotten comfortable as a society, real comfortable. You know, there's that old saying that hard times create hard men. Hard times create hard men. But if you're not careful, then those hard men create soft times, and then soft times create soft men. Because we get very comfortable. And again, nothing kills greatness like comfort. Nothing. I mean, let me tell you, if you want to experience, go to Mexico. Don't go into Cancun. Go into real pueblos of Mexico and see how most of Mexico actually lives. I've been blessed to be on well over 30 plus water well trips, drilling water wells down in Mexico. In most cities that have water, it's just brown water, that they have it sometimes of the week. It's not clean. It's not hygienic. You can't just drink it. There's that joke about Montezuma's revenge. Yeah, try to go drink the water out of a local tap in Mexico. It's going to tear you up. But I remember the first mission trip I ever went on in Mexico. Me and my wife, I was 24, and we went down into Mexico, and we're like, man, you know, let's go on this trip. And we were living in this little apartment in the city of Beaumont at the time. And honestly, we complained about that apartment. It's so small. It's this and that. Like, we had, you know, not content. We were complaining about what we were doing and where we're at. And then what happened? We went down to Mexico. We came back from that trip thanking God for that apartment. We were thanking the Lord above for that we had clean water, that we had access to, we had air conditioning. Like, we had these comforts that we all take for granted so much. But yet we're comfortable here in America. And that's why you hear people talking so disparaging about America. And it's the best country ever. Why? Because most of them are comfortable. I've been to countries where they were having real political unrest and protests in America and in their countries. Most governments won't put up with it, period. Like, you ain't going, try to go to Mexico and burn a Mexican flag and see what happens to you. Right? I'm telling you guys, we are way too comfortable. And being comfortable kills greatness. Just like the devil said through ChatGPT, if I can keep you comfortable, you'll never chase your calling. Pain creates strength. Resistance creates strength. That's what's amazing about it. But most people don't want to ever do it. They don't want to experience pain. They don't want to experience discomfort. They want to stay with what's comfortable, what's easy. They don't want things to change because things might get hard. Some of the hardest times I've ever been through in my life created the greatest blessings because I was willing to do the work. I was willing to be uncomfortable. And now I've helped change the lives of hundreds and thousands of people through our career, helping them change their lives because I was willing to be uncomfortable. Was it easy at first? Was I super uncomfortable? Absolutely. But what's that end result by being uncomfortable? I believe if you're comfortable, you're stagnant. I want you to think about this as it comes to a pond. Have you ever walked across a pond that's just stagnant? There's no running water to it. There's no stream feeding it. It's just an old stagnant pond. What is it like? There's nasty film on it. It stinks. It's nasty. There's all these things. Like, it's not an inviting thing. You don't want to jump in it. It's just an old, nasty, stagnant, stinky pond. Okay, well, let's go into whether a nice spring-fed pond, or whether you're going into something that has, like a nice rushing brook or a rushing river. That just looks inviting. It's clean. There's nothing that's staying on top of it. What does your life look like? Does it look like an old stinky pond that's just stagnant? Or does it look like that rushing river? And what's the thing about that river? A river, water can literally cut through rock and create this stuff. How amazing is that? just the power that water can cut through rock. Some of you guys need to be uncomfortable where you can really get through and get to a point where you're that river cutting through the rock of your comfortability in your life, because you're way too comfortable. And if you're comfortable, you'll never chase your calling. Number 4, he said to surround them with small-minded people, right? The devil will surround you with small-minded people, people who laugh at your dreams, people who feed into your fears, people who normalize mediocrity. I've talked about this a lot, but you will be defined by the people that are around you, period, end of discussion. If you're around people and you say, man, I want to start this new business, they just laugh at you and tell you how you'll never do it and can't be successful. Or do you surround yourself with people like, hell yeah, let's go for it. Like, let's create something magical together. Like, let's change the world. Most people surround themselves with small-minded people. Why? Because it's comfortable. You're never challenged. You don't have people around you that will challenge you to be better, challenge your goals, challenge your dreams, challenge you to upgrade yourself. How many of you guys are surrounded by people who just feed your fears? Like, you're worried about changing something. You're worried about switching a job. You're worried about starting a new business. You're worried about trying to get your health back. It's like, what if? I can't tell you, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many people that are looking to create new money because they're on disability or they're on some government program. And I'm like, man, I can show you how to make money. We can create some new cash flow. We can actually create some financial comfort in your life. And what's the first thing you say? Oh, I can't make too much money. I might lose my disability. Thank God you're broke. That would be a good thing. If you were making so much money, you lost your disability. Wouldn't that be awesome? But yet, out of fear, all these entitlements that people give, or that the government gives you to keep you under their thumb, you're too scared to go after your calling. You're too scared to go after your greatness. Why? Out of fear. And then you're around people that will feed them. You might say, man, I'm so sick of being on disability. I'm going to create some new cash so that I don't have live a life of poverty. And then what do people say around you? Oh, you can't do that. Don't do that. If you do that, you'll lose that disability. You'll get off these entitlements. You'll get off all this stuff. You start hanging around people that just normalize mediocrity, normalize just good enough. And that's why people don't go after it. That's another trick of the devil of how he can keep you from being successful. And another great one, keeping them busy and never productive. There is a massive difference between being busy and being productive. I'll have them go to work, but never grow. Motion instead of momentum. Effort without elevation. There are a lot of people that think they're really busy. You ain't. Well, you're busy. You're not productive. And I run across this constantly. People are like, man, I'm working so hard. I don't understand why I'm not seeing the success, that I thought. Man, I'm working all this time. I'm like, okay, let's track your time. Let's really track your time. And I want you to start writing down, whether it's every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, every hour, what you got done in that hour. What did you do in that hour? You would be shocked at the amount of wasted time that you thought you were being really busy, but you're not being productive at all. You're not really getting into it. If you have an issue with this, a great hack is start time blocking. So, okay, for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to reach out to new clients. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to follow up with new clients. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to create a reel to advertise my business. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to take care of my kids. I'm going to feed them. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to cook dinner. Whatever that might be, but actually block out your time. So you're being very deliberate with your time. Because I'll tell you, and I've been as guilty of this as anybody, it is very easy if you have a job. It's very easy because people will sit there and tell you, and they'll look at you and they'll say, okay, you got to be at work at 8:00. At 10:15, you can take a break. At 11:30, that's when you can go to lunch. By 12:30, you have to come back from lunch. At 2:30, you get another break. You can leave by 4 or whatever those times are. You can go to the bathroom during this time. Here's your break times. Here's your this. Here's your that. You don't have to be disciplined in your time. Someone else is doing it for you. Now, go into the world of entrepreneurship where you don't have that set schedule. And that's the trap. People think that they're very busy. They think they're doing something to enhance their business or to grow their business, but they're just busy. They're not productive at all because they don't have that discipline yet. It's just a skill set to learn. They don't have that discipline yet of how to be disciplined with your time and really get the most out of every hour. I guarantee most people can get more done in a focused 15-minute period than most people do in 2 hours because it's deliberate, it's focused. You're getting it. They're in motion all the time, but never creating any type of momentum in their life. That's a huge trick of the devil to keep you from being successful, is to keep you busy, just busy. I remember when I first started my network marketing career, we had 7 LLCs and we had 3 boys under the age of 8. I couldn't breathe. 12, 14-hour days were normal almost every day of the week. My businesses owned my life. I had no balance. I was not a present dad. I was just producing. And I started this new business. And then throughout my years, I've had people that say, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. I don't have time. Or I have a full-time job and a kid in sports. I don't have time. I have these sayings, yeah, you're very busy, but you'll never do anything to move into productiveness to where you can actually create the change that you want to see in your life. If you come to me with a 40-hour work week, I would have laughed at you back in the day because that was part-time for me. Most of my weeks were 70 to 100 hours a week. I was going nuts. I was losing my mind. But I found small pockets of time to leverage to be able to create the change I wanted to see. I had to learn the skill set of being productive and not just busy. Because a lot of people are like, I'm going to use social media to grow my audience. I'm going to use social media to grow my reach and my network and expand my business. And then you get on social media, you get on Instagram to create a reel. And next thing you know, you've spent 2 hours just scrolling reels, trying to get an idea, or all these things. So watch out, be productive. Don't be busy. The 6th thing it talked about was teach them to complain instead of taking responsibility. Man, you want to get into a pet peeve of mine, it's people not taking 100% responsibility for their own crap. That's a major problem in today's world, from the highest levels of government all the way down to the average person, average teenager. No one's willing to take responsibility for anything. They'll complain about everything. Listen, if you're a toddler or you're a child, that's something that has to be learned, that you have to take 100% responsibility. I said that to my kids their whole life. If you're man enough to do it, be man enough to admit it. Own it. Own your actions. Own your words. If you don't want to own it, don't do it. But by God, if you make a decision to do something, you better own those actions, because no one made you do it. It was a choice that you made. And most people want to complain about everything instead of taking any type of responsibility for anything. Complaining rewires your brain, guys, to see only problems. Responsibility rewires the brain to create solutions. One leads to stagnation and the other leads to transformation. And we see it all throughout. We see it everywhere on social media. You want to see people that will sit there and really never take responsibility for anything but complain about everything. Just get on Twitter or X. Get on some of these social platforms and just read. Are people trying to come up with a solution, or are they trying to just complain about a problem? I'll give you an example. My middle son, it really aggravates him the way that a lot of women flaunt themselves and brag about their body counts, or just flaunt themselves all over social media. Don't have respect for themselves in this amazing body that God has given them. And they just flaunt it out. They don't have any discretion. Proverbs talks like a gold ring and a pig snout is like a woman with no discretion. And it really bothers them. It bothers them that women are just so easy to give their bodies away to men at any time. And I looked at him and I was like, what are you doing about it? I was like, if you're going to be complaining about it, you better not be contributing to that problem. You better not be sleeping around. You better not be doing these things, because those women ain't sleeping with themselves. And so we're not going to be problem oriented. We're not going to complain about what are you doing about it. Because maybe if you had yourself to a high standard, then maybe you start influence the men around you to have a higher standard. And maybe that would compound to where maybe then men would have the dadgum self-control. If a woman's throwing them at them saying, no, I respect you too much. I'd really like to know you on a deeper level versus just carnal, versus just sexual. I really want to get to know you. Because if you're dating somebody, it should be the plans that you want to spend a long time with somebody. Dating's not about just having sex with as many people as you can. It's about trying to find your wife or your husband. That should be the intent. If you start to court somebody and go on a date with somebody, not, I want to ask her out so I can sleep with her later. I'm going to buy her dinner, so she better put out. What are you saying? What kind of respect are you giving to that woman? Number one, do you think she's that cheap? And on the flip side, ladies, don't be cheap. Have respect for yourselves. There's a reason why in the Bible it talks about sometimes these sexual sins are on a different level, because you're sinning against yourself. Do you know of any idea how many sexually transmitted diseases would not be a problem and or maybe even in existence if just everyone waited until they got married and they were monogamous in their relationships? You ever thought about that? But again, people want to complain about everything, and we see it everywhere. Why? Because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, I guess. But are all these people that are protesting everything in the world, are they actually doing something about it? Let's take climate change, which I think is a big scam. But let's take climate change. You have all these people saying the world's going to die. Now, have you ever noticed that it's been since the 70s that they've been squawking this? Do you ever notice why they say it's not global warming anymore? It's just climate change. Why? Because the world's actually cooling. Do you know that there's times in history when the CO levels are the highest, that we're greener than we've ever been? Why? Because God knows what he's doing. And these beautiful things we have outside called plants and trees, they eat carbon and produce oxygen. But it doesn't fit the narrative anymore, so they keep having to change it. Now, all these people are complaining about, what are they actually doing about it? Are they really looking for forms of clean energy? No. What's one of the cheapest and most readily forms of clean energy out there? Is nuclear. Are they promoting that? No. Is it safe technology in today's world? Absolutely. Could it completely transform the way we live? Absolutely. Are any of these people squawking about it? They're complaining. They're using fear to push an agenda, but they're not actually going after a problem, or they're not trying to solve the problem. Because if the problem's solved, a lot of people would lose a lot of money. It's same with all these people that race bait all the time. Are they really looking for a solution? No. Because if there was true harmony, number one, a house divided against itself cannot stand. There are people that want to keep people divided because they can control you. Period. End of discussion. It's the oldest trick ever, because if you're so worried about what your neighbor's doing, you're not worried about what those in power are doing, because they keep you constantly distracted. All these things we've been talking about. So are people really looking to have harmony throughout the races here in America? Or are there people that wildly profit, keeping people divided, keeping people at each other's throats? I live in a small town in Southeast Texas. We have a very diverse community of Hispanic people, of Black people, of Asian people, of white people. And it's amazing when you walk through our area how friendly everybody is to each other. There's not all this discord and discontent that you see in some of these major cities, or what the media wants to portray that's out there. It's an amazing place to live. People get along. They smile at each other, they're talking to each other all the time. But it's not this nonsense that's out there that the media wants to try to say that it's so divided. It's garbage. But again, if they were to solve the problem, Al Sharpton would lose a lot of money. People like him. They profit to keep people divided. So again, complaining rewires your brain to only see and focus on problems. Right? Responsibility rewires it to create solutions. Again, is your brain wired where it's going to lead to stagnation, or is it going to lead to the transformation you're looking for? The seventh is making them chase everyone's approval. If I can get you addicted to applause, I can control you with silence. How big is that today's social media world? How profound is that? Going on and chasing other people's. It's why most people that get into the podcast space, they do less than 10 episodes and quit. Why? Because they don't have the views. They think they should get their first episode, and all of a sudden they have 500,000 views or whatever. They're constantly chasing other people's approval. They're constantly looking for the likes, the views, the admiration, right? But again, what happens on the flip? What happens if there's no views, there's no likes, there's no this, there's no that? You're not getting that other people's approval. I have two main people in my life I look to their approval. One is my Heavenly Father. I want to make Jesus proud every day of my life. Number two is my wife. I want to be a protector, a provider, a good husband, a good father. I want to be the man God created me and not apologize about being the man that God created me to be. That's the applause I chase. I ain't worried about all this other nonsense. Most people are they allow themselves to stop their dreams by the comments and or unlikes, disapproval about people they've never met. You ever notice people are really bold online? But it's pretty rare that people are that bold or will talk that kind of trash in your face. In my day, we didn't have all this. You had a problem with somebody, you told them to their face, and it might have ended up in a fist fight. That's just the way it was. That's how we solved it, and then it was over. But in today's world, people say the most hateful, outlandish, just disgusting, evil things online because they're hiding behind a keyboard, and they would never say that to somebody's face. But how many people stop doing what they're doing and really quit chasing their goals and the dreams that I believe that God put in each and every one of us for a particular reason? How many of them stop it because you're constantly chasing everyone else's approval all the time? You want to know why Rogan's so successful? It's because he didn't do that. He started a podcast and he had his buddies on there talking about fighting. He didn't care if anybody was listening or not. They were just having fun. Even still in today's world, is he chasing other people's approval? No. He does whatever show he wants to do. If people tune in, awesome. The most successful people you know, they're not out there chasing everyone else's approval. They're going after the calling that God's put on their life, and they're not addicted to applause. Again, if the devil can get you addicted to applause, he can control you with silence. The next thing is feed them short-term gratification. If the devil can feed you short-term gratification, he will keep you under his thumb. Every major failure starts with tiny compromises. Every major success starts with tiny disciplines. I want you to think about that, right? That short-term gratification. That's why people don't ever go into entrepreneurship. How come 95% of the people out there have jobs? Because they start a business or they start a new business venture and they don't see the end result. They don't see the success they think they should. How many people are getting out of college? You hear this all the time. You have all these young kids getting out of college and they think they're just entitled and should start out making 6 figures a year. Why? Because your dad makes it? I made it real clear to my boys as they were getting and becoming an adults and graduating high school and everything. Like, you're going to have to work. Don't expect to get out of high school or get out of college and expect that you're going to make the same kind of money we do. I've been 30 years in this grind or more, probably. And going through it. When I started our company, I'll give you an example of this. When I started our company, the statistics for our company was this, that 95% of the people that got started with our company, they learned the business, learned a new skill set, kept going, didn't quit within 10 years, was at the top of our compensation plan that averages about $38,000 a month. 95% chance within 10 years of hitting the averages. I was 34 when I started. My mindset when I started was, I don't care if it takes 10 years. If I could be mid 40s averaging that kind of money, honestly, pessimistically, I said, I don't care if it takes 20. Because of my career with AT&T, I would never make almost $40,000 a month, ever. It wasn't an option. They weren't offering that. So we get to this point where people want short-term gratification and the devil's great at feeding it. Why is social media so insidious? Because it feeds short-term gratification. Oh, I made this post. I got 100 likes. Oh, I feel great about myself for a second. And then the next thing you post something else and no one views it or they don't comment on it. Like, oh, no one likes me. Right? It's this constant game. So again, just not allowing these little short-term gratifications to control you. Again, every major failure starts with tiny compromises. Let's look at it when it comes to your health. I'm going to start going to the gym. And you're really good for about 2 weeks. And then, well, I'm sore today. I'm not going to go today. Man, last night I didn't sleep good. I'm not going today. These tiny compromises you make to yourself. Do you know one of the most important people to keep your word to? Who that is? It's to yourself. If you make a goal to yourself, keep it. If you make a promise to yourself, keep it. Back when I was 15, I got introduced to chewing tobacco. I did Copenhagen for years. And it got to a point about 10 years later when I felt convicted when I would do it. And I would recently given my life to Christ. I was doing a lot of evangelism work. I was out here talking to people, telling them how Christ can set them free from all this stuff. All the while I had a big old dip in my mouth. And one day I got really convicted about it. And I was like, God, I really feel like you're telling me you want me to quit. And so I'm giving you my word, and I'm making a word to myself that I will never do it again. And that day I laid it down and never have done it again. That's been 25 years. I made a commitment to myself not to do it. Now, is there a lot of health benefits to that? I'm sure. Same with my working out. Same with my weight. Same with my eating. Same with my marriage. I'm not going to make tiny compromises in my marriage because I want a healthy, strong, happy marriage. And now, have there been times I've caught myself doing that? Absolutely. That's when you take inventory of your life, you course correct. Stop making these little tiny compromises, because every major failure, normally it doesn't happen. When people aren't successful in business, normally there's a lot of little tiny compromises on the way before they shut their doors. In relationships, with your health, with all kind of things, tiny little compromises. That's what really gets to where you get into a major failure. So let's talk about the last one really quick. Number 9, it talked about how the devil can keep you from being successful, is blind them to their God-given potentials. Because when you don't see what's inside you, you'll never fight for what's ahead. I'm in the middle of writing a book right now, and it's about relationships. Or that's one of the chapters about relationships. And a majority of the chapter that I'm writing is about the 2 most important relationships I think you have in your life. Number 1 is your relationship with your Heavenly Father and the creator of the universe. The other is your relationship with yourself. Most people don't view themselves as this magnificent, wonderful, unique creation that God has made. God doesn't make mistakes. He knew exactly how he was going to form you. Have you ever thought about how there's 8 billion people in this world and no one has your DNA or your fingerprints? You are so divinely and uniquely made. It's crazy. All right, I talked about this on some of these other podcasts, but even if you really dive into how chromosome 2 was fused together, not on the telemeters on the end, but in the middle, and how nature is unable to do that. And that's where we get a lot of our divinityness. That's where we get our speech and our imagination and our empathy and so many things that make us human and really separates us from every other creature on the earth. But how many people, how many of you have looked, Ephesians, second chapter of Ephesians, it talks about how you are a marvelous creation of God. Have you ever looked yourself in the mirror, literally in your eyes in the mirror, and said, I'm a marvelous creation of God? The devil will blind you from your God-given potential. It reminds me of the parable of the talents, where the owner comes out and he gives one guy 5 talents, one guy's 3 talents, and one talent, and tells him to be a good steward over these talents because he's going to return. And when the businessman returned, the guy with 5 turned it into 10. The guy with 3 turned him into 6. The guy with 1 buried it. He buried his talent. And what happened? He got scolded. God gave everyone, every one of you has the opportunity to change the people's lives that are around you or create a big change in this world because of the uniqueness that you have, these God-given potentials, these God-given abilities that he's put inside of you that only you have. But how many of you guys are too scared? Like, everybody has a story to share, but how many people are too scared to get up there and actually share their story? I can't tell you how many people I've coached over the years that are like, oh, I can't go live on Facebook. I can't go live on a podcast. I can't be interviewed by this. I can't do this. I can't share my story. Why? What seeking that applause? What would people think? Or would I be judged, or will I be canceled? Who cares? Like, I'm at a point, what are you going to do? Like, I'm almost 50 years old. I'm not real worried about the opinions of people I've never met. Number 1, they don't pay my bills. Number 2, I want to do business with people that share my values. Like, I'm very solid in who God made me and the man that God made me. and my morals and my values. I don't want to do business with people who don't share my values. And against the people, I just don't want to do business with you. Right? If you're supporting a lot of things that I don't support, okay, you're free to do that. It doesn't mean I have to do business with you. And or you might not want to do business with me because you don't share my values. That's fine. That's no big deal. That's the beautiful thing about America. Do business with who you want to do business with. Right? How many people are too scared? They shelter. They never even recognize. They're blinded to their God-given potential because you don't know what's inside you. You don't see what's inside you, so you'll never fight for what's ahead of you. Never truly fight. We're in a war in this world. If you don't think there's forces of good and evil, you are crazy. You should fight for what is right. You should fight for your family. You should fight for the things that are important to you. And not get it out, and don't be blinded to your God-given potential. So let's talk about the antidote. Let's talk about the antidote as we close. So the antidote to the devil's schemes on how he keeps you from being successful, from reaching your full potential. Number one, guard your focus. You got to guard your focus. You got to be diligent and disciplined in your time, in your energy, right? Time is the one commodity you'll never get back. You have to guard your focus. You have to be diligent with it. We all have the same 24 hours a day, period. What do you do with it? Are you focused with it? Number two, strengthen your identity. Know who you are. Part of my definite purpose statement I say every day is, I am a king and creation of God. I love him first. I love others. I love myself, and I love serving others. Like, I know I've strengthened my identity. I know who I am. You can call me every name in the book. It's not going to bother me. Why? Because I know who I am. I know what I believe. I know what's in my heart. So if some stranger calls me some name, it's not going to bother me because it's like, you don't know me. Like, I don't care. You don't know who I am. I know who I am. You have to strengthen your identity. You got to choose your circle intentionally. There's a story in the Bible in Mark chapter 2 where it talks about these four guys were bringing their paralyzed men to see Jesus because they wanted their friend to get healed. And they couldn't get in because the house was packed. So they climbed up on the roof. They literally tore a hole in this guy's roof, lowered his friend down, and his friend got healed. And it's interesting because it says by their faith. It wasn't by the paralyzed man's faith. It was by the friend's faith. By their faith, you were made whole. You were healed. Do you have that circle of people around you? And especially men, do you have, we call it your carpet bearers, like your corner men. There's guys on each four corners of this carpet that they were carrying this dude on, or his mat carriers. Do you have those guys around you that will call you out? Maybe you're a married guy that struggles with pornography. Maybe you have a pornography addiction. Do you have guys around you that will call you out? Are you around a bunch of guys that constantly complain about their spouses? Or maybe you are, and no one says, hey, man, that's your wife. You shouldn't talk about her that way. That's the bride you chose. You should hold her with respect. Are you around guys that will call you out on your crap when you need it? And when they do you accept it? Or do you put them at arm's length and stiff arm them? Teach them not to come to you when they see you going down a path. We all need people around us. I strive constantly to be to not be the most successful person in the room, which isn't hard. Right? But I try not to be. I don't want to be the most successful guy in the room. I want to constantly surround my people that think differently, that think bigger than me, that push me, and that will help hold me accountable. Because the easiest person to rationalize anything to is yourself. You know how many people are addicted? I'll go back to this, addicted to pornography because in their head they say, well, me and my wife don't have sex enough, so I'm gonna watch this. They rationalize it. Well, why don't you put all that sexual energy and all that love and lust and desire into your wife? Give her that kind of attention instead of some inanimate garbage on your phone. Maybe your life would change a little bit. You ever thought about that? So we got to get into it. But again, choose your circle, guys, intentionally. There's a reason that for as long as I can remember, I've heard the saying, you will be the average of the top 5 people you hang around in every aspect of your life. Every aspect. So build discipline. Here's another antidote, guys. Build discipline, not dopamine habits. Too many of us are way too addicted to dopamine hits. And we're looking for it in these social media companies and media companies and everything out there. They know how to hit it. There's a reason if you start going down one rabbit hole on your phone, you're just gonna get more and more and more and more of the same. You're never getting out to see other people's perspectives. You're never seeing anything else. You're just seeing this one. Why? Because that algorithm is just feeding those dopamine hits. And that's where, there's the funny term that's come up, that Trump derangement syndrome. Why are people like that? Because they're like, man, I can't stand what this guy's doing, but everything they're being fed on their social media is just everything hateful about Trump. And they're just constantly getting that dopamine hit, and it just wires their brain to where they can't even see rationality, to the point we have literally people in this world that are protesting law and order. Does any of you want to have a very dangerous neighborhood to live in for you and your kids? Is anyone looking to want to go into some of the worst neighborhoods and live? Why do you think people are fleeing the big cities? Because nobody rationally wants to live in a dangerous area. But you have people that are getting those dopamine hits constantly about how wrong X, Y, and Z is, and they're literally protesting against law and order. It's insanity. But again, it's dopamine. They don't have discipline in their lives. They're not doing things. They're not building disciplines. They're chasing dopamine habits. The next thing, guys, is stay mission-driven, not comfort-driven. You got to have a definite main purpose. You got to know where you're doing. You have to have goals. You have to have dreams. You have to have things that you are striving for. You have to have a mission you're looking to accomplish. You can't just be comfort-driven. Do you think our amazing military, I think we have the best military in the freaking world, man. I love our soldiers. Do you think they would ever be successful if they were going after comfort versus mission? They do things you're not willing to do, and it's very uncomfortable. But they're mission focused. They want a strong homeland. They want to protect America and our values. Somebody has to do it. That is definitely not comfort driven. If you want to be comfortable, those are the guys that, well, think about in the 60s that were being drafted, that would find every excuse in the world not. They wanted the comfort. There's a lot of people that complain about stuff from their comfortable little home, but never get out and do anything about it. So again, stay mission-driven and not comfort-driven. And the last thing, and I think the most important thing, guys, connect to the purpose that God put in you. You got to connect to that purpose that God put in you. If you're hearing that small voice in your head to go write a book, to start a podcast, to start a business, to give to something, to go on a mission trip, to help somebody out, whatever. Listen to those small voices. Listen to the voice that God put in you, and understand and really connect to the purpose that God's given you. Connect to that purpose. That will help you be mission driven. That will help you understand your identity. That will help you understand the circle around you. I believe this is the main point out of everything. If you think about the antidote to the devil's ploys, it connects to the purpose God put in you. And if you connect with that, that will help you stay mission driven. That will help you build discipline. That will help you choose the circle of people. That will help know and strengthen your identity and keep you focused. That's where I think if you look at this whole antidote, that is, if you look at a hub of a wheel, that's the middle of the hub of the wheel. And all these spokes come out from that. Understanding and connecting to the purpose that God put in you individually. Because every one of us has a purpose while we're on this earth. And like our pastor says, God has a plan and he will succeed. But you have the choice. You have the opportunity to participate. You don't have to. You have the opportunity to. Hope this made sense to you. Love your feedback and comments. Stay tuned for the next episode, but thank you. God bless. See you next time.